Recently, we had an IPO of a company called Nykaa. The PE ratio of the company is trading at 1000 times. Basically, to buy a single share of a company, you're paying 1000 times the company's earnings per share or the company's profit. Imagine that is the amount of premium someone pays or investors are paying to buy a single share of the company. That is the fun part of PE ratio. Welcome to mindyourinvestment.com. My name is Siddharth, and in today's video we talk about chapter 3 of the fundamental analysis series. Today's video topic is about ratio analysis and the most important ratios for fundamental analysis. Now we'll cover a few very important ratios and then we'll brush up on a few common ratios which are used by analysts for fundamental analysis, because you need to understand how the ratios work. So this is going to be a lengthy video, but if you haven't seen our part 1 and part 2 of fundamental analysis series, watch it over here and then watch this one. This will cover more topics which will help you analyze a company even better. So let's get started and understand what ratios of a company are all about. So in today's video, we're going to cover a few major ratios. The first one is the PE ratio with EPS and ROE. Second one is reserves to debt and interest to profit ratio. This is again a special ratio which will tell you a lot about a company's basic core function. And finally, we look at a few common ratios like quick ratio, debt ratio, and a few examples of those ratios. We'll analyze a company based on these ratios, and first we'll look at these ratios and how do we use them. Let's get started. So the first topic of this video is the PE ratio and the EPS of a company. So let's understand EPS, earnings per share, first, because based on that we look at the PE ratio of a company, which is very important. So EPS of a company means earnings per share. The formula of that is net profit of a company divided by shares outstanding of a company. Now net profit we can get from the profit and loss statements, and the shares outstanding is basically the share capital that we get in the balance sheet of a company. So we have to take one from balance sheet, one from profit and loss, do a calculation, and we get EPS of a company. Now the amount of profit for each share you hold is called EPS. Let me explain this again. Now a company makes profit, right? The amount of profit if you hold a single share of a company is what we called earnings per share, that is EPS. Let me give you an example. Let's say net profit of a company is 25,000 and the number of shares in that company is 500 shares. So the earnings per share of the company will be 25,000 divided by 500, and that is 50 rupees, which is the EPS of a company. So this would mean that if you own one single share of a company, your profit in that company is rupees 50. So one share means 50 rupees is your share of the company's profit. Now you might have a question that does EPS of 50 rupees mean that we get 50 rupees per share to us every year for holding one single share? The answer to that is no. See, with the 50 rupees of EPS, earnings per share, which is truly your share of profit of the company, a portion of that goes to the company's retained earnings or reserves that we covered in the balance sheet part. So the company retains a portion of its amount as profit so that it can use it for expansion or cases of emergency. Hence, we do not get that profits portion in our bank account. But some companies pay off dividends and they give you a small portion of the profit as dividend to you every year, and that is how again EPS is important. If the EPS is positive and strong, the company will give you higher dividends, and if the EPS is low, the company might not even give you dividends, or they are not in a place to give you profits from their company. So profit plays a big role in a company, and profit per share plays even a bigger role for a company. Now let's understand how does the company's EPS change every year, because it can change every year, it can change every quarter. Let's understand how. Now if the profit changes whereas share outstanding remains the same, then what will happen? So if in the first example, the current one that we have, 25,000 is the profit of the company, 500 is the company share capital. That would give us the EPS of 50 rupees. So for one single share that you own, 50 rupees is your profit on the share the company posts. That is your share of profit for one single share. Now let's say we have two situations. First is, in the future we see the company's profit has increased to 30,000 and the share capital is the same. If we do a division, then the EPS of the company becomes 60. So your profit per share of the company has increased to 60 rupees a share, which is a very positive sign for a company. This will increase the company's share price because the demand of the company is increasing, because profit per share is increasing for the company. Now let's say another situation can happen where the company's profit fell, where the profit went from 25,000 to 20,000 and the share capital is the same. Here the EPS of the company will become 40. This is a bad sign. When the company's EPS is falling, the participants in the market, the ones who hold the share in the company, will lose interest in the company because the profit per share or the earnings per share EPS is falling down. The more the EPS increases, the more demand the share will have and the price will increase, and it will work the other way. The more the EPS reduces, the more the company's share price will fall. Hence, EPS plays a very big role for any company. Now let's look at a situation where the company's profit remains the same, but the share capital changes. Now the first case is same, where the EPS is rupees 50. In the next scenario, we see that the company's share capital had a buyback, where the company's share was bought back by the capital, hence share capital reduced, which is a very good sign. Buyback of a company is a very good sign for analysis, which means the company is so confident that they are buying off shares from the market at the market price and keeping it with themselves so that they don't have to distribute profit to the investors. So here we can see the EPS is now 100 rupees. Imagine the EPS, earnings per share, profit for one single share has increased from 50 rupees to 100 rupees. This is a very positive sign for a company. Now in the next situation, we see the company dilutes its shares, where it sells its shares to its employees or gives out bonus shares or any other reasons it can be. Here the company's share capital increased to 1000. Now there are 1000 number of shares available in the market. If we do a division with the company's profit, we get 25 rupees, which is the EPS of the company. This is a bad sign. You can see that the company's profit for a single share has reduced from 50 to 25. That would mean the shareholders in the company will lose interest and they can sell off the shares. Hence, the main goal of the company is to make sure that the EPS stays constant or grows. If the EPS grows, more investor will come into the company and they will buy more shares of the company. Now let's understand the PE ratio of a company. This is again very important. We have all heard of the term PE ratio, but how many of us do actually know what PE ratio, price to earning ratio of a company mean? So the PE ratio of a company means the current share price divided by EPS. That's how it is. Whatever the current share price is, if you divide that by the profit per share or the earnings per share of a company, that is what we called PE ratio. And the PE ratio is a premium ratio which tells us at what value of EPS is the company's share price trading off at. Let me explain this to you again. This ratio tells us how much times of the profit are you paying today to buy a single share of the company. How much premium are you paying of the profit per share to buy a single share of the company? That is what the PE ratio tells us. The example over here, we have a PE ratio of 10. 10 basically means 10 times. So to buy a single share of a company, the PE ratio is telling us that it is trading at 10 times the company's profit per share or earnings per share. So let's say in the example that we had earlier, 50 was the EPS. So to buy a single share of the company, you are paying 500 rupees for the share. Why are we paying premium for the company? The reason for that is because we know that the company will grow in the future. The more the company grows in the future, the more the PE ratio of the company will be, because we are not buying a company today based on just today's outlook. We are buying a company because we expect the company to do very well in the future, and that is why we pay premium for each company. Recently, we had an IPO of a company called Nykaa. The PE ratio of the company is trading at 1000 times. Basically, to buy a single share of a company, you're paying 1000 times the company's earnings per share or the company's profit. Imagine that is the amount of premium someone pays or investors are paying to buy a single share of the company. That is the fun part of PE ratio. Now, one important thing that you need to know about the PE ratio is that the PE ratio depends from industry to industry or sector to sector. Some sectors trade at a higher premium because the growth of the company in the future looks more promising. So some companies, like let's say IT companies, might trade at a premium of 40 rupees. The industry like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, all these companies combined PE ratio is called the industry PE ratio. That is at 40. Some companies like let's say the FMCG sector, their PE can be around 20, where we see that the growth in the future is not that strong. The companies where growth is stronger, the PE ratio of those companies or those industries will be stronger. So one should always compare a company stock with its peers. Like if I'm comparing Infosys, I compare it with TCS PE ratio, Wipro PE ratio and the industry PE ratio. Then would I get to know whether the company is overvalued or not. Generally, whenever we see a company's PE ratio more than 30% of the industry PE ratio, we say the company is overvalued. Again, if we see a company who's trading below 30% of the industry PE ratio, we say the company is not positive. There can be something wrong with the company, because a company will generally trade between the actual industry PE ratio or up to 20 or 25% below that. If it's trading below 30% of the industry PE, then the company is not suitable for investment. We'll cover all of this as we go forward in the video. So this is the basic concept of the PE ratio, which only comes if we understand and use the EPS of a company properly. Let's quickly look at the PE ratio scenario for IT sector. Now on the screen, you will see all the IT companies PE ratio mentioned there, and the sector PE is on top, which is the industry PE, 39.87. So all the companies who have their PE ratio above 30% of the sector PE ratio, those are overvalued. And the companies whose PE ratio is below 30% of the sector PE, those would be a company that you need to avoid. So Infosys, TCS and Wipro are companies which we can say are right now a bit undervalued. But HCL Tech is a bit lower than the 30% mark of the sector PE or the industry PE. So this company, we have to do more fundamental analysis to see what is the reason why the PE is at this level. But if you haven't understood, watch the entire part about EPS and PE ratio again. It's a very small portion. You will understand what this ratio is and how important this is for your analysis. So now let's look at the return on equity ratio, which is known as ROE. So what does this ratio mean? Now return on equity's formula is net profit divided by the equity of a company. Now this measures the profit earned for each rupees invested in a company stock. Bit complicated, let me explain it again. So for 1 rupees invested in the company, how much profit are you getting out of it is what we called the return on equity of a company. So for 1 rupees that you invest in the company, how much profit the company is giving you is what the return on equity means. That is the simple way of understanding this ratio. Now let's say we have a return on equity of 15%. That basically means for 1 rupees invested, the company is giving you 15% profit on that investment. Now this ratio is used to understand a company in its industry. We'll look at a few examples of companies right now. Here on the screen, you will see that we have 2 IT companies. One is Infosys, another one is TCS. Now here you can see that the return on equity of Infosys in the last 3 years cumulative was 25%, whereas on TCS it has been 37%. So just on the basis of return on equity, you are getting more return on TCS for each rupees invested in terms of profit. And that is why it is obvious, we always see in the stock market that TCS is one of those companies which is always at all-time high. Why? Because in the peer section, when we compare Infosys, TCS, Wipro, all the IT companies, TCS has the highest return on equity. Now you can easily see the return on equity of a company in the Screener.in website. In the profit and loss section, you'll see there's a box which has 10 years return on equity, 5 years, 3 years, and last year return on equity given there. Now the rule of return on equity is that it should always be compared within the same industry. And another rule is it should be growing and should be above 10%. When we see a company whose return on equity is lower than 10%, that company is not suitable for long term, because the company's return for the amount invested is very low. For 1 rupees that you invest in the company, it is giving you less than 10% profit for the money that you invest in it. So always prefer a company which is giving more return on equity. That way, the growth of the company is much stronger and can be said that the company is here to stay and grow much more in the future. So now let's look at a few special ratios which are used by the Mind Your Investment family. This is one of those ratios which is very important, but a lot of analysts around the world do not use them to the way it is supposed to be used. I or my team in Mind Your Investment uses this, and this gives us a much clearer picture of the company's situation in terms of stability and in terms of situations where the company, if it's in stress, can still manage out. So these ratios are reserve to debt and interest to profit ratio. Now let me give you the example over here. Let's say the company's reserve to debt ratio is calculated by the formula debt on the top, reserves on the bottom. Now let's say the company's debt is 500 crores and reserves is 6,000 crores. So if we do a division of the company, we get 8.33%. So this ratio is telling us that only 8.33% of debt is a part of company's reserves. So this would be a good sign. Similarly, if we see another example, here we can see that let's say the company now has 4,000 crores of debt and the company's reserves is 6,000 crores. So if we do the calculation again, here we can see that the company's debt is 67% of reserves. This would be a bad company. Why? Because if the ratio is much higher, like the percentage is much higher, then it would be a sign that the company has a chance of going bankrupt. Like what we covered in the balance sheet of the company, this is a snapshot of that given to you in a ratio format. Just by looking at the ratio, you can tell whether the company can be invested for long term or short term. Similarly, if we now look at the IP ratio, the interest to profit ratio, here we assume that let's say the company's interest was 120 crores and the profit was 3,220 crores. Now if we do the division over here, we get 3.72%. So here we can see that the company's interest burden is only 3.72% of the profit. So this is a very good sign where the interest burden isn't that strong. Again, now if we look at another example, here we can see that this time the company's interest burden is 800 crores and the profit is same. If we do the division, we get 24.8%. So here we can see that the interest burden has increased. If the interest burden increases on a company, the company's profitability in the near future will fall down. Hence, it is always suitable to invest in a company where the burden of interest is much lower, where the ratio of IP is much lower. Now, lower the ratio, the more protected the company. That is the basic function of both the ratios. Anything less than 30% on these two is a good company for long term. If you can find a company where these ratios are less than 10%, invest in them, they will never go bankrupt. That is one of the biggest things I can tell you, and I can bank on it, because if a company's debt is low, there is no chance the company is going bankrupt. This is the only thing that you need to know for long-term investment. Now let's talk about a few common ratios, and then I'll show you how these ratios are calculated. You can see them on moneycontrol.com's ratio section, or even on Screener in some ratio section, but we have an Excel sheet. I'll show you how all these ratios work and what is the meaning of all these ratios, because common ratios are certain ratios which are used by analysts all over the world. Hence, they play a big role. So if we can read the common ratios as well, then it gives us a superior advantage over analyzing a stock. So the first ratio is return on asset. Now, just like return on equity, return on asset is very similar. It is an indicator of how profitable a company is relative to its total asset. The return on asset gives the managers, investors, or analysts as to how efficient a company's management is at using its asset to generate earnings. So in the equity part, we saw that how much profit is coming for $1 investment or 1 rupees investment in the company. Now in the asset section, we can see how much return is the company getting for the assets that the company has. So this is also an indicator of a company's well-being. More the ratio, the better it is for the company. Now this should be increasing for any company, and it is compared with its peers in the same industry. Second common ratio is return on invested capital. Now this is also very similar. This gives us the idea of how efficient the management is using its capital to generate earnings. Again, it is the same, should be increasing and should be compared with its peers. More than 10% is good for investing in the company. These ratios might seem irrelevant to you because you cannot relate to it too much, but trust me, when you look at the ratio section and you see a score which comes out of this, you will draw a much better conclusion from them. I'll show you in a couple of minutes, but just understand what the common ratios are for the time being. Third important common ratio is the debt to equity ratio. Now this is a ratio which is widely used by analysts all over the world. It gives us a picture of how much the company's debt is in comparison to equity, and is the company doing a good job by raising more debt, or is the company raising more capital by selling equity, which is good. Now it is a measure of a degree to which a company is financing its operations through debt versus wholly owned fund. Basically, it means share capital. Let me explain. More specifically, it reflects the ability of shareholders' equity to cover all outstanding debts in the event of a business stress. So basically, this ratio tells us that how much debt is the company using, and if a company is raising too much debt, that would be a bad sign. Similarly, if its company is raising too much capital to run a business, that would also be a bad sign. So this ratio tells us what is a good ratio, what is a good percentage of debt to equity to have in a company so that the company is optimum. Now, whenever we have this ratio would be compared again with its peers and should be less than 1. Debt to equity less than 1 would mean that the company is ideal. So debt to equity should be less than 1, and that would be a very good investment opportunity for a company. The fourth ratio is the current ratio. Now the current ratio is a liquidity ratio that measures a company's ability to pay short-term obligation or those due within 1 year. So this ratio is telling us about the short-term loans a company takes, because in the balance sheet we always look at the unsecured loan which is written in the debt part. But then there are other things like other liabilities which are short-term borrowings a company takes, loans which they want to pay off within 1 year. So what is the capacity of the company to pay off these amounts? So this ratio should be in the range of 1.5 to 2.5. That would be an ideal range for any company, and again it should be compared with its peers. I'm not showing you formulas because it is very complicated to look at the formulas and calculate them. If you want, you can pause the video, open a new tab and search the formulas for debt to equity, current ratio, return on invested capital, all these ratios in the other tab. But just so that you learn what these are and how do we use them, this is why I'm showing you these ratios meaning so that you understand them. Fifth ratio, which is very important when we look at banking stocks, is the price to book ratio. Now, companies use the price to book ratio to compare a firm's market capitalization to its book value. It is calculated by dividing the company's stock price per share by its book value per share. Book value is also the tangible net asset value of a company, calculated as total assets minus intangible assets like patents, goodwill, and liabilities. So the meaning of this ratio is a bit complicated, but the entire concept about this ratio is that a company has a basic book value. What is the company's value based on its book, the asset and liabilities? So this value compared to the market value, what the market share price is trading at, are two different things. So this ratio tells us what is the difference between the market value of a company which has premium in it with the help of PE ratio, which we saw, and book value, which doesn't have any premium. So we compare that and find out if the company is overvalued or undervalued. This ratio is mostly used to look at banking stocks and NBFC stocks because this is where this ratio shines the most. We'll come to banking stock analysis in another video, but this ratio plays a very big role in that sector. Sixth ratio on the list is a dividend payout ratio. Now, the dividend payout ratio shows how much the company's profit after tax, PAT, are paid to shareholders. It is calculated by dividing the dividends paid by earnings after tax or profit after tax and multiplying the result by 100. Basically, this ratio, this amount of dividend payout ratio, the percentage that you get, is a method of seeing how much of the company's net profit are you getting as a dividend. So the EPS of the company that we saw in the starting of the video, what portion of that will you get if the company pays off dividend, is what the dividend payout ratio tells you. Not every company in India or around the world pays dividend. Only some companies do. The ones that pay dividend, if you want to invest in a dividend paying company, then this ratio helps you find out whether the company that you're investing in is paying good dividends or not. So this plays again a big role for dividend invested companies. Coming to our seventh common ratio, the operating profit margin or net profit margin or any profit margin that you see, it is calculated by company's operating income by net sales. So if we do the net sales divided by the company's operating profit, then we get this ratio. This tells us how much company's profit is in comparison to the company's revenue or sales. This indication is a strong indication to find out whether the company is actually making higher profits or not. If the expenses are high, the company's margin will be low. So when you read the quarterly results announced by the news channels or you read them on Money Control or any other platform, they speak of operating margin, because if the operating margin is lower, that would mean the company's expenses have gone up. The cause of expenses is another factor, but if the operating margin reduces, that would mean that in the future, the company's margins even might shrink more. That would be a bad sign. Hence, in a company, the operating profit margin should always be increasing or should be stable. That would be an indication that the company is doing well and can be invested for long term. And now if we come to our last ratio, which is the asset turnover ratio, which I personally don't give too much importance to. This ratio tells us the efficiency of company's asset in generating revenue or sales. It compares the amount of sales the company makes revenue to its total asset as an annualized percentage. Thus, to calculate the asset turnover ratio, divide the net sale or revenue by the average total asset. So this ratio should be above 2.5% and again should be compared with its peers. So now let's do a fundamental analysis of a company using the topics that we spoke of. We are using our Excel sheet, the fundamental analysis Excel sheet, and once we open a company like TCS, we get the full snapshot of what we spoke of so far. Now this page that you see on the screen, this is the dashboard page of our Excel sheet. This tells us the full snapshot of a company with custom situations. You can learn more about this in one of our videos. The link is on the top right hand corner. And if you're not into this Excel sheet, buy it today. It's an amazing Excel sheet. Will cover all your understanding of fundamental analysis. So once we see this page, we will go to the balance sheet section over here. Here you will find reserves to debt ratio. Now this ratio is telling us how much the company's debt is in comparison to reserves, like we covered in the video. So here we can see that the company's reserves to debt has always been very low, and only in 2020 the company's debt was slightly a bit higher because the company was expanding, but still it is 10% of the company's reserves. So again, like I said, this is a very positive sign for a company. In 2021, the company's debt has again fallen down, and now it is only 9%. So this company becomes a very strong investment for long term. Why? Because the company's debt is very low. It is lower than 30%. In fact, it is lower than 10% of the company's reserves. Now, if you look at the company's profit and loss statement, here we look at the interest to profit ratio. Here we can see that the company's interest to profit ratio in 2021 is only 1.96%, almost 2%. That is very low. Again, a very good sign for the company. Although in the Excel sheet there are other parameters that you can see, like the sales score, the net profit score. There is score given for everything over here, but I'm just covering the basic part about the Excel sheet. Now, if you look at the ratio section of the company, this ratio snapshot gives us everything that we covered. Now, the return on equity over here, if we see, the company's return on equity has always been growing. Starting from 2012 till 2021, the company's return on equity has always been above 30%. Right now, it is 37.5%, which is very good for any investment in a company. That basically means the company is giving us 37% return for the amount that we invest in it. For every 1 rupees, I'm getting 37% profit made by the company. So that is a big return that you get from this company in terms of return on equity. Similarly, return on asset, if you see, the company's return on asset has been above 20% throughout. Right now it is 24.9%, which is again very strong. Anything above 10% is considered to be very good for a company. Company's debt to equity is much lower than 1. Anything lower than 1 can be said to be a good debt to equity ratio. These companies have debt to equity ratio of less than 0.1. Similarly, the current ratio of the company, if you see, it has overall been in a good zone. Right now it is at 2.20. Again, this is a positive sign. Anything between 1.5 to 2.5 is considered to be a good current ratio, but you have to compare it with other companies in the sector to see whether that is good or bad. Then comes the price to book ratio. Although price to book ratio is not very important in other sectors like IT sector, because the stock will be much more than the company's book value that is given. In NBFC and banking stocks, when we talk about that, I'll explain the price to book ratio in a much more informative way. Right now, just look at the price to book ratio. Then if we look at the dividend payout ratio of the company, here we can see that the dividend payout of the company has always been above 40%. So this is an indication that the company is giving good dividends every year. For the earnings per share of a company, you are getting a big chunk of that as dividend to your bank account. So this ratio is very strong that we can see in this company. Then if we talk about operating margin of the company, it has always been above 25% in this company, which is a sign that the company is doing very well. If the operating margin all of a sudden drops below 20%, that would be a bad sign. A company should have stable operating profit throughout all the years, and rather it should increase. That would mean the company is doing very well, where it's reducing its expenses and increasing its revenue. This ratio tells us about that. And finally, the asset turnover ratio. This ratio is telling us how efficient the company's assets are being used in comparison to its equity. It is in the range of 1 to 1.5, But again, I do not pay too much attention to this ratio, but because analysts use it, we are putting this ratio in the calculation. Now, once you see all the ratios over here, we have a very nice way of calculating the ratios and giving a score on that. So here, all the ratios, if you see on the right hand side, are given remarks. So the first return on equity has been given excellent score, and like that, all the ratios are given scores. Based on that, we have a percentage, which tells us how strong the company's ratios are. This company's score in terms of ratio is 80%. That would mean the company's ratio is very strong for investment. If we refer to the dashboard of the company again in the Excel sheet, here we will get all the scores of the company. The balance sheet score is 85%, profit and loss is 58%, quarterly 58%, ratio 80%. So like that, there are scores given, and based on that, we get a final score for investment after doing certain criterias like how is the economic condition, good, or is it bad, or is it average. So based on that, a lot of factors depend, and the final investable score that we get from this company is 78%. Any company that you invest in which has a score of above 50% can be invested in. If the company score is above 70%, that company becomes an ideal investment for long term. Let me quickly take 1 minute of your time and explain what products can you find on our website. The first one is the fundamental analysis Excel sheet, which has 10 different analysis models along with 8 custom situations, which will automatically calculate a company's fundamentals, whether the company is suitable for investment or not with a score, along with 3 different target prices. Now this model is for those who are starting off with fundamental analysis. You should definitely try it. It is only for $389 and you can download it unlimited times once you buy the package from our website. The second package is the stock valuation Excel sheet. This is our premium Excel sheet. A lot of investors use this and they get the most accurate target price using this one because this has 8 valuation models used by top brokerage companies all over the world. These have an accurate way of calculating the fair value of a company, and with this, every quarter you get a target price of a company. And not only that, you get a Telegram community along with this where we discuss stock market valuations, stocks recommendations which are supposed to do well in the next quarter, future and option strategies, stock market recommendation, and other things that we discuss in the community. All of this is for lifetime. And finally, don't forget to check out our seminars on fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and future and options. Here we have a course where you can learn directly from me in a video conference in a trading platform where we do an interaction. It is a 3 to 4 days learning course where we teach you how to do individual topics correctly. You will learn a lot if you are starting off. If you learn something from this video, you learn 10 times more than that in these seminars. So if you're new to our channel, definitely give these a try as well. These will give you the highest possible return.